will be a permanent archive of what you say.
Right now it's about
That'd be nice.
Okay,
be wary of that.
it's streaming out to the
It's
public.
getting ready to
Or
fire
faces
up
that you
that
make.
area.
Oh, this is far.
Jack, there's a bit of a hum.
I guess it's probably resonance from,
It might be coming from the HVAC in here. We have
Oh.
a weird noise in here.
stop humming, Chris.
Okay, so that's the YouTube feed is up.
Okay,
Yeah, there is like a HVAC, it's just kind of electrical hum I can hear.
okay. All right, we've got a bit of a HVAC hum, but,
Some kind of electrical transient I can hear.
okay,
It's not overbearing, but you can't hear everybody else, but it is there.
okay. So Mike Allen's coming in.
She's supposed to join in here real quick.
Yeah.
He's in, he's just not in a video.
Okay,
Carrie's here.
Carrie.
So what you
Oh,
can do
there's
is-
Beetle.
is-
Beetle checked in, so he'll be on.
Hello.
Hello, Beetle.
Hey,
Hello, this is Terry.
Oh,
hey
Terry,
Terry.
turn on your camera.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not using it today.
Everybody else is showing their smiling face.
How's everybody?
Doing great.
Yay.
Mike,
Warren looks especially well.
yeah, right. I didn't wear the sport coat today. Mike, you're muted and you're up. There you go. And-
Yeah, I keep it muted unless I'm going to say something really interesting, Warren.
Okay, well, I
And my
guess.
camera, the way I have my computer set up, that's all you get if I put my camera on. So
Okay,
He's a wise man.
okay. What we're gonna do, if there's no objection, is move the Havre de Grace Industrial Park presentation by Steve Shaw and his daughter to the top of the agenda and give them an opportunity to give us a 15-minute presentation on the plans for what we call the, for want of another better word, I guess we all refer to it as the old Sherwin-Williams property. We've seen progress there. So Steve, you can move into my seat and be me.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you.
whoa,
I'll take a minute and just go through the project. We purchased the old Sherwin-Williams building approximately 60 days ago. And the idea was really to repurpose the building into a functional industrial asset in the industrial park. So we got a lot of help from Shane Grimm in taking us through the process of how to get a demo permit and that sort of thing. And he was very encouraging and helpful for us in that process. And so we went and received the permit a couple weeks ago, and we have taken down about 100,000 square feet of the building. We have a remaining slab there. We are grinding up a bunch of concrete that were spoils from the demo and using that as rubble and stone fill on the site. This week, we'll begin doing some repaving of existing paved areas. We have replaced all the doors in the building. We have a sprinkler system that's going to be going into the building. And are doing concrete repairs on the exterior slab. And so what we will have is what I think will be a very, very unique building for, call it the Baltimore to Philadelphia corridor. And it's unique because our intent is to provide the ability to have a lot of outside storage. And so we will have, when we're done, about a 77,000 square foot industrial building with 10 loading docks, at-grade drive-in doors, and about 4.5 acres of outside storage. And the outside storage will be all existing concrete slabs where the building was and repaired and or paved areas or stoned areas that existed prior. And so we think that it will be a great opportunity to bring a tenant into the market. This is done on a speculative basis, but the idea is to find a tenant who might need this kind of a facility. Over the recent months, I think 400,000 feet of space has been leased 8 or 10 miles south of us off the Bel Air exit of 95 to Amazon. So I think that their need is for lots of parking and storage of vehicles and distribution. So I would hope that possibly a user like that might be interested in the facility, but we do not have a long-term tenant yet. And so we would, we see it as an opportunity to provide functional space in this market. We think that it will, we're going to redo the facade of the building and really make it look more like a newer building. And so I would hope as the entrance to Havre de Grace in the industrial area that Havre de Grace would appreciate the enhancement to the look of this project, as it's been a vacant kind of eyesore for many, many years. And so I think hopefully we've talked to Shane Grimm about his desire that at some point in time to work out some sort of signage agreement where we can present some signage for the industrial park of Havre de Grace, possibly at the entrance. We have a big water tower that would certainly be a feature that we could do something with, and we intend to paint that and make that look great. And so we want to be a good participant with economic development and hopefully bring a great business or two into this market that would be beneficial for jobs in the market and tax base and everything else. And so that's really my plan.
It fits well with one thing that Steve may not know is we've had Julie and Paul have worked hard on improving the Revolution Street corridor on the other side, because there was no active user here.
Right.
And they were also the instigators of the sign idea for the industrial park.
Okay.
So Julie got us a grant for $5,000, Julie. And Paul and Julie have, they work with the tree commission, came up with a plan. So across the street, it's not going to be a full blind, but when you're driving, if you're looking perpendicular, you'll look into the properties, but what's across the street from you will look a lot different than it does today.
Well, as part of that, we had a fence across the entire personnel parking side of the building that to me was a bit forbidding, and I didn't really like the look of that. So we removed that fencing across the front of the building, and over the next 2 weeks we will be installing a landscape area between the building and the parking and a sidewalk, so that you'll have kind of a normal business front, which is well landscaped, and a sidewalk, and doesn't have where today the paving runs right up to the building and looks very, very old and industrial. And I would like it to look more like a high-tech building with really nice landscaping and all new parking, and get rid of the wood poles that had lights hanging from them and replace that with some nice lighting on the building. And so that entire facade over the next 2 or 3 weeks will be completed. And I would hope you drive by and say, wow, that looks great. We're going to put some windows, 5 or 6 big windows in the top of the building to bring natural light into the building, but the facade will look much, much better.
Questions, thoughts, comments?
Sounds terrific.
It does look really nice as you drive by and watching them crunching up the rubble and stuff. So you're doing it's been such an eyesore. So really looking forward to seeing it look better.
Well, thank you. And Shane Grimm has called a couple times and said, you know, what can you do to improve the landscaping and all the weeds and everything else? So we've been really working on, we've gotten a landscaping company out there to take down all the overgrowth and the weeds at that corner. So so we can kind of see it and figure out, you know, is there a good place to put a sign? You know, is there, what can we all do to improve that intersection? But I feel like just de-weeding it and taking all that down and getting the ivy off the fences and making the corner look professional is in everyone's best interest, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, this is Paul. We really appreciate your vision and your commitment. This is really exciting stuff, and I think it's going to work out real well. If there's anything that we can do, I don't want to speak for Warren, but anything we can do to help you out, let us know.
I think the only thing that I would hope is that oftentimes new businesses or existing businesses talk to you all about what their goals and objectives are. And if someone has a need for space or has, you know, any need at all, you just give me a call and we'll try to help out any way we can. We want to be a good participant in this market. We want to have a great product. You know, we have a long-term objective of buying and holding. So, you know, that's really ours. My background is I was with Merritt Properties for 26 years. I left about 5 years ago, and I have been buying properties in this region from maybe the DC Beltway to the Delaware line. And we have bought about 10 or 11 properties, and we have about 1.2 million square feet. But all those properties we really would like to hold and hold for long term, and that's really the goal. As an aside, I grew up in Harford County. I went to John Carroll. I spent a lot of time in Havre de Grace with all my Havre de Grace friends as a young man, and really enjoyed this community. I played rec football across the street on the baseball park, and I played high school football against Havre de Grace on the lot I just drove by. So I hope it feels like, you know, not only do I care because of the asset I purchased, but I really do care to try to do something right in a neighborhood or a county that I grew up in.
So what do you envision besides Amazon? What other uses do you think? Is it offices in there or manufacturing space? What's inside?
So the building, I think, is uber flexible in that it's got a giant electric service, a 3,000 amp 277 480 electric. It's got a giant gas service, got a giant water service. We're putting in an ESFR sprinkler that allows you to have just about any industrial tenant that you would want. So we could go build out whatever office need you would want at the front of the building, but typically the user is going to be some sort of R&D, flex, industrial type user. So I don't know what the user is going to be, but you know, when I was with Merritt, we had 1,300 tenants that did all sorts of things, and you name it, and they're doing it. And so I don't know whether it's going to be a distributor or it's going to be a manufacturer or it's going to be Amazon or a cosmetics company or whatever. My goal is to try to create a building that is uber flexible, and by having great access, by having giant amount of outside storage, by having high power, by having great flexibility on a sprinkler system, which kind of can limit people from a storage perspective. I think what we're really just trying to do is you know, open up the funnel to as many possible candidates of a tenant as we possibly can, and then try to find somebody who's interested and put a fair transaction together with them.
Okay.
Sounds terrific.
The geographical location is extremely advantageous in the sense that it ties the west end, industrial west end of the city kind of together, Solvay on to the industrial park. It's not an unattractive component of the development. Oh, it's pretty exciting.
I will also say that when you're a developer and you're working around the state of Maryland, it's a very difficult task. Okay, and so we're not doing ground up development. We're really just kind of repositioning the building and trying to improve and demolish what is functionally obsolete. But Shane Grimm, when I met with him the first time, was very inviting, and you know, we talked immediately, spoke with economic development, and got a great feedback. As you know, we want someone to improve these buildings. We want a good developer to come in who cares about the community. That is not the case everywhere, and I think it's, you know, this is your philosophy is what Harford County economic development was 30 years ago, and what brought a lot of good businesses to this county and created job opportunities for people. So I really applaud what you all are doing and the mindset that you have to create jobs. I mean, what people need today are jobs and a tax base, and we're trying to do development the right way and build a really nice, attractive product. And so I think revitalizing existing sometimes is a little bit of a lost art, and everybody wants to build brand new. And so that's kind of what we've been trying to do. And we really do appreciate the opportunity and the attitude that you all have brought to what we're trying to accomplish.
I think it's, you're right. I think Shane and Erica and the mayor are very, very business friendly. They really want to do something there. They've been wanting to do something there for a long time. But what's also very encouraging to me is your group and yourself is, you know, obviously very, very experienced, very, very, you know what you're doing. You've got a wonderful track record. And the fact that you see this as a big or a good opportunity makes it all the more encouraging, in my opinion. So thank you.
Well, thank you. If there's ever anything I can do, pick up the phone and call. We appreciate the opportunity to come in and sit and talk to you about what we're trying to do. And we look forward to other opportunities. If you have other opportunities in the community that you think we could help with, please let us know.
Steve, this is Terry Kearney. I had one question. Are you initially going to try and market it just to one client, or are you going to go for multiples?
That's a good question. It's really designed to be a single tenant building. It would be very hard to demise it, in that you've got 10 loading docks all in one location on the left side of the back of the building. You have a storm water management facility on the other side of the back of the building. So you really can't create more loading on that side of the building and split the building down the middle. So I think our real goal is initially to find someone who needs all of the building and as much of the outside storage as they would need. And then if we have leftover outside storage, would be to find something to do to bring somebody who might need, you know, that kind of facility.
All right. I was just trying to envision it and see how you, even if you had like two tenants in there, how you would keep them separate. You know, like, you know, put up walls or whatever, but I understand what your concept is. Thank you.
Steve, by outside storage, describe that. What's that look like?
So I don't really know. I think we have tenants today that need vehicle storage. I mean, certainly Amazon has 1,000 vans that they would like to park on a facility like that. You have facilities that are in the sales of, like, you know, an Albin tractor, for example, a cat distributor. They have all sorts of Caterpillar equipment that they would need to store on the facility outside and then have repairs or do something inside the facility. You have big industrial developers who would need to store spools of coils of copper or something like that. And so I really don't know what people might need to store there. And one of the things I did is I left a remnant of the front of the building that shielded the whole drive-in section of the building from a view from the street. And I kind of did that intentionally just so that the view from the street was not looking into the docks, and it looked at a screen wall that protected the view from that. And so I don't know. That's the thing about building a speculative building, is you really don't know who's going to lease it until somebody walks in the door.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, what is the target completion date?
I think we'll have most of what we're going to do to the building, other than what a tenant would need, done in 30 days. So that's one of the things we really wanted to do, was hit the ground running, try to get a permit to demo the building, clean it up, pave it, you know, get it all squared away as quickly as possible.
Anybody else?
How many square feet is the inside?
It's about 77,000 square feet. It might say, I think it says 75,900 on the brochure, but I think it's closer to 77,000.
It's 77,000 on the sign in front of the building.
There you
I've
go.
memorized it.
Okay.
If you had to guess, how many automobiles could you park outside?
100 plus spaces, it says there.
Well, on the front, it shows 100 spaces. I'm gonna guess on the whole site, you could park 500, 400, something like that, depending on how much of loading you were using and that sort of thing. And how you stack them. If you stack them 5 deep with no rows, you could get an awful lot of vehicles there.
Sounds like it could work for a lot of different uses, that's for sure.
I think from the beginning of hearing about this, Steve's father told me that they're certainly open to any input we want to bring. I'm sure Erica will bring a lot more than we can, but if you have any, I think Steve, pretty open and pretty creative, and to the extent that you have thoughts or contributions to make, throw them out there. Okay? Steve, do you have your contact information?
Yes, Erica's got it all.
I'll send it out to everybody on EDAB so that they'll have a connection.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I
Just reach out.
appreciate the opportunity to come in and present this to you. And if there's ever anything I can do, let me know.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
My pleasure. It's great to see you.
Please tell Jim and Barbie hello.
I will. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
See you. Thank you.
Enjoy the weirdness of all
Great
this.
job. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Steve.
When I first moved to the county, Steve's father convinced me that I needed to be the marketing director for the County Economic Development Advisory Board, of which he chaired at the time. I then succeeded him as chairman of the board. So it's kind of a funny circle. Steve was a high school lacrosse player. He played lacrosse at Delaware. I guess was an All-American at Delaware. Okay, into the agenda. Thanks, everybody, for participating in these difficult ways. This is super. I really appreciate the attendance. Okay, David distributed the minutes from February. Correct?
I was not at the February meeting.
Oh, okay. Christopher, I think you were the substitute. And we'll defer until the next meeting, then we'll get out February's with this meeting.
Well, if I could, you can approve minutes via email.
Right,
So
sure.
So we could go ahead and communicate via email after reading over the minutes and take a vote that way. I would suggest that if the minutes were therefore taken by Chris, that everybody get back to Chris with your vote to approve or with any modifications, and then make sure that's sent over. And Chris can easily send an email over to Adam regarding same.
Well,
Yeah, or alternately, if everybody else has read them and that's the only change, we could approve them with the proviso that the attendee list will be modified, and then approve it based on that, and then we'd be done. And I just update it and submit it.
okay, sounds good. All right. Office of Economic Development report.
Okay,
Mask man.
you said the mask man. So with everything that Steve just said in his presentation, I'd also like to reiterate from the side of economic development, he has been extraordinarily gracious and easy to work with, which is not something you can always say with folks that you're working with in development. I noticed that Dave just took a drink of his soda, so he couldn't have to comment on whether or not they're easy to work with. But he's been very open, pretty much everything that we've suggested, trying to set up dates and times to come in. What I'll go ahead and do is all of the materials that Mr. Shaw presented, I'll go ahead and turn them into an electronic document, and I'll send them to Dave. And Dave, if you want to go ahead and send them out via email once you receive them, that way it's just coming from the same source and everybody will have the same thing. Just
That's
makes
good.
Okay. So I sent out a very brief, very simple director's report, basically discussing which are the new businesses that we have in Havre de Grace. A Taste of the Teal Antler opens, that's at 119 North Washington Street. This is a business that we showed property to about a year and a half ago, including 119 North Washington. And they came back and were interested in that space that wasn't of interest to them before. When they opened up, it was pretty miraculous. They have a very large social media following and another shop in Elkton, as well as a mobile presence. And they had a line that extended from 119 North Washington to the top of North Washington and down Congress Avenue for their first day opening for a boutique clothing store. It's boutique clothing for women and children, as well as accessories and items. So they have a very huge following and they're doing it correctly, especially in pandemic times. Boca Mexa Taqueria has opened. They're doing a very good business as well. They are right beside.
That's some great Spanish.
She's trained me well. Every time she answers the phone and I say it incorrectly, she's like, no, you'll order again. I get no Taco Tuesday until I say it properly. So I've learned. But anyway, food is outstanding, very sweet person. They're going to be opening Thursday through Sunday currently, and they'll be extending their hours as well. I'd also like, if you have not as yet expressed to the mayor and council of Havre de Grace, Havre de Grace was the first municipality in Harford County to come up with some outdoor dining options for our restaurants. Not every restaurant in Havre de Grace is blessed with outdoor seating. So some of our restaurants, when they were finally allowed to open for people to sit down and eat, they knew they were going to be crowded, but they couldn't have anybody inside. And Department of Public Works, Economic Development, the mayor and council came up with, let's close off some parking spaces, leave it open to the restaurants to choose whether or not they wanted to do that or not. And it was successful. Yes, we had some glitches. I was named the independent restaurant czar, which I informed those who were giving me advice that made them Rasputin, and things did not go so well with him. But the one area where we had some glitches, they were hammered out. People have been cooped up for a long time, and they're enjoying having a chance to be out. Now that we have 50% indoor capacity and have had glorious weather, our restaurants are doing a great business. But I really think kudos are deserved by mayor and council for pushing that through, because it has made an impact for our restaurants. And it's also made an impact for restaurants that are outside of Havre de Grace, who are not allowed to have outdoor dining, who are now saying, you know, my town doesn't support me, so I'm interested in coming to Havre de Grace. So we have a lot of restaurants who are now looking at us, and hopefully they'll be giving some of you in the real estate business a call very shortly about seeing some places. That being said, we have had a few.
If I could jump in on that, I just sat through the Main Street, Maryland meeting, and which is bi-weekly meeting. And a lot of the townships, municipalities through the state did not have the administration support that we had. They came back and said, well, what do you Main Street doing about this? And I was able to say, hey, the city jumped out and led, and I was chasing after Erica trying to find out what was going on, but the city handled it. And that is something a lot of the other towns did not have. So thank you.
Appreciate that, Julie. So that's good news. Bad news, we have lost a couple businesses. with the shutdown taking place as it did and for the duration of it. And, you know, we're still in the weeds. We're at 50% for indoor for restaurants. We are not out of this yet. But we have lost a couple of businesses. Jimmy's Nails has closed, which was on Juniata Street. He's now partnered in with another salon. And then Best Choice Driving School has closed on Juniata Street. We have 2 tenants who are now interested in both of those. On the Best Choice Driving School location on Juniata, within 36 hours of them locking the door, we had a new tenant signing a lease. So we have a lot of interest in Havre de Grace currently. Some of it is word of mouth. Somebody says, I saw a sign go up, and on this last one, the lady picked up the sign, figured out whose phone number it was, who owned the building, and took it to his house and said, I want to rent it. That's a unique way of becoming a tenant. We're working with some others, and what I did is I listed them as prospect businesses, but for the sake of public record, we have a possible tenant for 407 South Juniata, which is a reptile and amphibian pet store. 612 is a craft hobby wood shop and make and take shop. A lot of our retailers that are wanting to come in are experiential retailers. So you don't just come in and purchase an item, but you are a part participant in making that item. And a lot of our businesses that are downtown now are adding that function, and it is meeting with great success. We have so far with any of our paint nights at any of our businesses downtown, have not had a single one since January that has not sold out. So just a word to the wise on that one. We have a 10,000 square foot medical equipment moving company. They do moving and calibration. A 50,000 square foot high-end wedding and event rental company looking to come in. I'm meeting after this with a restaurant that's based in Cecil County looking for their second location, an urgent care center, a med surge facility, a convenience store is looking to go on Route 40, which it seems like I always have a convenience store looking to go on 40. One will land. They keep circling. One will land. We also have a car wash for Ohio Street. We have a barbecue and pit beef restaurant looking for Route 40 where the old charcoal pit was. Makes sense. And we have another crab house inquiry on the Prices building. Future projected openings are the State Theater. They went through all of their work on the building. And then immediately upon getting ready to open their doors, everybody's doors were locked. So it's been a tough row to hoe with them. We're trying to help them out as much as we can. We were able to secure for them some funding to help them out, but we'll have to all make sure when they do get to open that we all buy the extra large bag of popcorn and really support them. There's a lot of work's gone into it. Hopkins
They are live streaming a lot of shows. So if you go to their Facebook page, they are live streaming. You can check it out.
And then Hopkins Brewery, the chairman has been staying very close to that. Not that he has any interest whatsoever in beer.
I've had some help from Mr. Sobis on that issue.
I see how you guys are.
We've been stopping in to get free beer.
So we've been staying in contact to make sure that when they are ready to open, that we can help with any support and promotion. Technically not within the greater folds of our wonderful downtown. It doesn't matter. They're a Havre de Grace address. They're a Havre de Grace business. They're a Havre de Grace locals. And we support our own and we take care of them.
A comment there. I'm hoping, and I've suggested to them, that EDAB have the day before they open, that EDAB and the tourism group meet there, and they're working with Erica as kind of a pre-grand opening thing. That's going to come up quickly. They're anticipating approval of their retail sales license sometime around July 1st. So it'll come up pretty quickly, but this thing is it's just a beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The building is built by Pennsylvania Dutch. It's all pagan. There's no screws or nails in it. It's really a pretty place. So it's going to be very successful.
There will be people coming up to visit that place from far away. That's for sure. It's going to be a very popular venue. So I'm sure that there'll be ways that we can leverage the the success of that place, because it will be successful. That's for certain.
Well, what I always try and explain to people, especially when I get the message of, you have Havre de Grace and in-town limits, and then you have the Havre de Grace 21078 zip code that's not in town limits, and you work for the city of Havre de Grace. When you go to visit Ocean City, you don't pay attention to which part of Ocean City you're in. You're just in Ocean City, and Ocean City might be a bad choice at this point to be using, but it's Havre de Grace. The person who's visiting sees us all as one Havre de Grace. So, it adds to our overall cachet. Speaking of Blind Horse Distillery, they're actively working there. They did contact Economic Development for some recommendations for contractors for the interior work. We were able to provide them with several. So they're moving forward on that. Abbey Burger, if you've had a chance to visit at Rogers Tavern, it is completely gutted. Extensive work is going on because I receive on average since the first announcement 3 years ago about Abbey Burger, I receive on average 20 calls a week about Abbey Burger and what's going on and who's going on in their place and whatnot. Abbey Burger is indeed going in. And they are actively working on it. They brought in a local contractor, and they've also kept the doors and windows open so that people can see that work going on and hopefully take for themselves that it is indeed happening. We have a tutoring academy.
And they've preserved some space in the rear of the building for,
I'm coming back to it.
oh, okay.
Stay in your box.
Oh, okay. I'm in it. There I am.
Okay, so we have a tutoring academy, which is just down the street that's coming in. That's kind of a new thing that wasn't on our radar before. But if you kind of go to where the end of that block at the corner of Washington and Pennington, and from where the tutoring academy is and coming down towards Abbey Burger, every building has something going on to make an improvement, whether it's facade or tenant fit out or improvements that are happening. A great deal of that is being done by Miss Julie Runke walking up and down the street and saying, hey, this looks like crap and we can help you fix it. And people are taking her up on it and responding, even if it's a matter of cleaning cobwebs off of a building that have been there since, Warren Harding was in office. They're doing it and it's having an impact, and it's enacting a little bit of pride in other businesses who are chipping in as well, which has prompted an organization who is a microbrewery already licensed to take a renewed look at that particular section of Washington Street. And they have signed a sublease to go in at the rear of Abbey Burger. So there will be a microbrewery co-located within the Abbey Burger facility. I'm not at liberty yet to talk about their product line or their logo, but it's very, very cool. It has a World War II motif that goes back to one of the investors' fathers, the nose cone of his plane, of his father's plane during World War II. It's brilliant. As soon as they started talking history, I'm like, I'm sold. I'm going to work with you on this. Let's find a way. Great guys. We've been working with them for about 9 months. So hopefully that baby will be born shortly. Then we also have a lash and microblading experts business to come in. That would be in the old Rhapsody salon space. And then Harbor Wine and Spirits is out at Harbor Shops. They're moving forward there. It's now a wait on the liquor board, etc. And then if you scoop down, we're on the on deck. I've had my meeting with Patrick, who's our Director of Administration, and Steve, who's the Chief of Staff. And they're crafting a contract renewal. They'd like to offer me a contract for an additional 3 years to stay with the city of Havre de Grace. Contract expires at the end of the month. So I guess you'll have me around for another 3 years to kick around or whatever. So the offer will be extended, and we'll move forward from that. But I did, because this board was very active in the interim contract being offered, as well as the final contract to become the director. Out of respect, I wanted to keep you apprised of the situation, that it's been 3 years It's been 3 years. But I was actually hired, and my first start date, since I am a history freak, was December 7th of 2015. So Pearl Harbor Day. I'll always remember the date, but I'll be 5 years in December working this gig. So that makes me the longest serving EDAB. It's been around the town. I'm telling you. I can't decide if I'm gonna get a target on my back or a crown on my head. One or the other is gonna happen. But in that instance, after that, I have Pomeroy Foundation and the Women's Suffrage Marker. Really quickly going through that. Worked with Amy Rosencrantz, who's a PhD. We did research together regarding women's history. This is the Year of the Woman, according to Governor Larry Hogan, announced in January. And the William Pomeroy Foundation offered grants to communities to place markers where significant events of women's history and women's suffrage movement occurred. In Havre de Grace, we had the Prairie Schooner Campaign, as well as the Army of the Hudson march through 1913 and 1915. So that information was bundled up. It was sent to the Pomeroy Foundation and the National Women's Heritage Trail, and Havre de Grace was selected. We will receive that plaque. It's an outdoor, almost like a historic marker that you see on highways. It will be shipped from a foundry in Ohio to us. We should receive it in about 12 weeks. And what the decision has been, David, if you do another golf thing, I'm jealous, but it'll be shipped to us. And what I've decided with Amy is we're going to display it in City Hall, do an unveiling during a council meeting, and then have it displayed in City Hall, then offer to display it at the Visitor Center as well as the Opera House, but not install it outside until March of 2021, March being Women's History Month. Do it as a public event. That way we're less likely to have cancellations, reschedulings, and confuse people. March is usually pretty slow, so if we can find a way to kind of create another big event. I've also been working on things for our Economic Development Week, which will be September. So we do have the 20th anniversary for Big House Signs, which is Paula Casagrande. She has a big sign out in front of her store. Funny that a sign shop would do a sign about their 20th. Of course, the new big businesses like Boca Mexa, the Taste of the Teal Antler, River City Public House opening, and Impression Salon. If there's others that you're aware of and want to make sure that I include, please do not hesitate to correct me and add to the list. We all do better when we share and share the information. But those are the ones that I'm working on currently and moving forward. We're also, and this is slightly off topic because it's not on my report, but since this has all started, the mayor has taken a very proactive role. We're putting together brief letters that I'm sending out to the different businesses downtown and the business owners, thanking them for what they've done in this crisis, including, Malgorzata, who did the photography and the banners and got all of the fundraising done for them, for the seniors. So we're trying to, this is an unusual time, so we're trying to do above and beyond measures to make sure the businesses know that we support them and we're behind them and we appreciate them. So we've taken that step, and I encourage you when you're out and about to give them an attaboy and an attagirl, because it's hard right now. Between Julie and myself, I have no idea how many emails, phone calls, visits we've done regarding PPP, EIDL, loan programs, Harford County's loan programs, state programs, or trying to define executive orders. It's a never-ending process, but we're staying ahead of the 8 ball. Occasionally, the 8 ball does knock us in the middle of the forehead, but we're doing it, and so far, a lot of our businesses are doing quite well. So we're just moving forward and hopeful that the next executive order from the governor will be something that's opens us up even further and gives us some good news. That's what I have, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add?
Erica,
I'd love to add. I'd love to interrupt.
go ahead.
So, sorry, but I do. So when Erica said about the downtown cleaning up, if you haven't gone down to the 204 Washington, which is where the tutoring place will be, he has put siding on the building. He has power washed the building. It is gleaming white with the burgundy and gold painted details on it. It's magnificent. Again, he's got more plans. The blue front that looks so awful, he's going to make that burgundy and yellow to match the rest of the building. It did get all its inspections done, so it's been a long haul, but they are going in soon. And take a look. And then up the street, the Crazy Eights building, she put all new siding and windows as well. The Vintage Cafe has a mural going on the front of it. So, take a walk downtown. It's looking really nice.
Hey, Erica, any early feedback on inside dining? Because what I've heard around Bel Air are, I mean, even though the weekend was beautiful, people aren't going inside to eat.
In Havre de Grace, we haven't been seeing that as much. People have been going in. We had, I contacted our restaurants downtown and some of our Route 40 restaurants as well. And they had cutoffs, they had capacity. And at one point, 2 of our restaurants downtown had an hour and 45-minute wait time for an inside seat over the weekend. But, I think with a lot of the different restaurants, if folks come in and they're feeling a little off about cleanliness or our staff wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, gloves, that sort of thing, they just walk, they hoof it. So we've been very careful to send out any kind of guidance, all of the signage, all of the posters, materials on how to best help keep people feeling safe. I noticed in a couple, because I try and go around to other communities as well, because I'd rather steal ideas than try and invent a wheel and see what they're doing right. And I've also noticed a lot of things that they're doing wrong. For example, one of the restaurants that I visited in Bel Air, who shall remain blameless and nameless, they had a guidance regarding how to avoid the flu, not COVID, not virus, flu. And it was dated, I think the document was dated from 2004. And using that as a poster on your front door is not going to help you. People are very cognizant and they're very aware of it. Because, I mean, how many times do you hear this? It sounds trite to just make sure that the information is updated and you've got the latest and that you're following the guidelines, but it seems to be helping with our downtown businesses. Right now, what we're having the biggest issue with, in my opinion, is we have a lot of wedding businesses and that guidance has been very unclear. So we've really been hammering down with that. And then theaters and arts, that's been very wishy-washy in its interpretation as well. So, it's making phone calls to legislators, to Chamber of Commerce, and just trying to stay on the information and say, could you define it further? I know you guys are dealing with it too in real estate with the businesses you have. I've heard from a couple of the businesses, especially out on 40, the tanning industry was so heavily hit. And they were listed in the same category as tattoo parlors. So, having to deal with terrified business owners, you're closed for 3 months. Most people will have a 2-month reserve. They don't have a 3-month. So it's been a challenge.
Long time to hold your breath. Erica, you have a possible tenant for 50,000 square foot high-end wedding and events rental company. Is there any possibility, I mean, it's just crazy thought, but do they have any tolerance for expanding that to a 77,000 square foot facility?
They have an appointment with Mr. Shaw on Tuesday.
Okay. That's, super. I don't know what they'll store outside, but
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other questions for Erica?
Erica, you had a possibility of a amusement company, shall I say? Is that a dead issue or are they still interested?
Still interested. I had a company that does multiple types of entertainment and music experiential things. It's a putt-putt golf, laser tag, escape room, that sort of thing, all within one facility under one roof. So they've come out, they've looked at the empty space at Save-A-Lot. They're looking for a pretty large space. Since I've had a lot of time with them, so they're not going to pull the trigger until they would be allowed to actually open. Makes a little bit of sense. They've also inquired about 121 St. John, the old EFC building or Kiwi building, which is 10,000 square feet. So what I'm finding is a lot of the people that we had on the bubble, Julie, like I guess it was February and March when we started working with some of them. They're still around. They're just not pulling the trigger on any leases because their particular industry can't open. So they're keeping an eye out on anything that might be available and adding it to the list of look-sees when things open up. So we've been doing a lot of virtual showing of properties or sending them to. Beatles taking a lot of my calls. I was just on the phone with David earlier today about something that we're working on. So there's still a great deal of interest, and I don't think any of the deals that we started the year with are dead yet. I think there's still a great deal of interest there. It's just like everything just stopped on hold.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. Okay, anything else for Erica? Well done, Erica.
Thank you for hanging in with me, guys.
Thank you.
We're here on the same screen.
You don't have a choice, Warren.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
stuck with me forever.
Okay, Robert's not here today, so we'll dispense with the county report. And Jason's not here, we'll dispense with the council member report. Gateways, Paul, Julie, you want to bring us up to date on the trees?
There's been some progress, but it's primarily due to Julie's efforts, so I'll hand it over to Julie.
No, I was trying to let you have a chance.
Oh,
So
well,
the money came in, the city has the money. We have an updated plan for what trees that matches the money. So we're all set with that. DPW is all set. What we're waiting on right now is we put out letters to the property owners to get in writing, their approval that we can plant on their property. And the State Highways Administration gentleman is sending in a letter saying where we can plant next to his right of way. It's 2 feet from the poles. So you're not really under the poles, you're right next to them. So those letters have gone out with the exception of 1 or 2. And everybody that I've talked to personally has said, yeah, no problem, I'll just sign it and get it back. So we're just moving along with it. Fortunately, they're saying you really can't plant until September anyway. So we've got a little bit of time on this one. But other than waiting for the money, everybody else is just, ready to go.
It's been a long haul, but well done. Really, I think it exceeds the expectations that I had when we started this. Getting the money on top of it was just fantastic. So great job.
Julie,
Chris?
Is there any reason that you might want to revisit the plan based on what's going to be happening with Steve Shaw's renovations and
We're not on his side
re-landscaping?
of the street. We're on the other side of the street. We're
Okay.
from like where the bridge is down to Chesapeake Rental.
Yeah, I remember that. I just
Our
thought
side of the
there might be some. Thought there might be something going on in that side. All
Well,
right. Well, it'll just make it it'll look that much better with his landscaping. that's
Actually,
all.
Chris, a good question. I know from Shane Grimm that early on, Shane discussed our initiatives on the north side of Revolution, and Steve indicated that he is interested in doing everything he can on his side of the street to make it look every bit as attractive as the other side. So he is committed to landscaping that side of the street on the property. So that's a good question and a good out. You know, it's kind of, in a way, the Gateways project initiated something that is going to get us both sides of the street, which is kind of neat. But good question, Chris. Okay. Old business, is there any old business? Okay, new business, we've had the Shaw presentation, so the COVID-19 updates.
You want me to handle that?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to handle it. Do I look like the Harvey Grace Office of Economic Development?
So regarding any of the COVID updates, we have a lot of our businesses that have applied. As we learned, as we went through trying to give information to various businesses and making sure that we have active email addresses for them, active phone numbers, you know, we've had to update a lot of that data. Luckily, I was working from home for a long time, so we've got a lot of that updated now. But we've tried to work a network by having, I'd send out emails. I send them to Julie, who does the Habit of Grace Alliance, as well as Habit of Grace Main Street, as well as to the Chamber of Commerce, to make sure that we're sending them out through all of our partners and asking our partners to send them out. So it's rather redundant. Some people have received them 3 and 4 times, but by doing that, we make sure we don't miss people. What we also found out is a lot of our businesses are sole proprietors, and a lot of these grant funds that came out do not help a sole proprietor. You needed to have at least 2 employees. Some don't have employees. So there were layers to the onion when this all came out and everybody saw the magic money tree happening and that we were all going to be saved by funds floating down. There was that shock level that hit under the sole proprietors. And for folks who really don't even have employees, but still wanted to try and do payroll protection when they don't have a payroll. So there was a little bit of shock and awe that came out through all of that. Those who could qualify have done so. Our banks have been amazing through all this. And even though we won't be able to see if he has a reaction or not unless he puts his hand by the base of his computer, Hartford Bank has done an outstanding job. And I've heard rather amazing and very heartfelt praise from a lot of my businesses of the personal effort that that Mike has given, Marianne, and Danielle's been amazing. So, you know, kudos should be received where kudos are deserved. And there's really a lot of businesses in Habit of Grace that have benefited from their stepping forward and helping and guiding in a very critical time. We've had help from others as well, Freedom, APG, FCU, et cetera, but Hartford Bank has really taken the lead as a community bank during that crisis. And I think it needed to be said and recognized across the board. We're still getting a lot of questions regarding what can open, can't open, how many people can be here, that sort of thing. And we're just playing it by ear as we go through. So far, I do realize that there are probably some more businesses that are on the bubble. And we're just gonna have to be there and try and help them through. That's really all we can do right now. We're all in that kind of hazy area where we don't know what's gonna happen next. But right now they're holding their own in town, and just support them as you can. And please make sure that when you're moving forward on any of your business needs or banking needs, you help the ones who help their community. That's what I have to say on that.
Hey, Mike.
Erica, if I could jump in, first of all, thank you for your kind words. Our team really did work hard on this. We have stopped taking applications now, and the application window officially closes in 13 days. But Erica, I would tell you, sole proprietorships can apply for PPP funding, and if you have people that still need it and want it, send them our way. We'll gladly guide them through the process. They have less than 2 weeks left, but let them know that. And of course, I'm sure you know the EIDL loan program opened back up yesterday. That's a good program for small businesses. And if they need any help with that, we're less involved in that. Banks are not involved in the program directly, but if we can offer some guidance in that regard too. So to everybody, if you know anybody who's still struggling and needs some assistance, either through PPP or the EIDL, let them know. We or anybody else can help them, but don't just sit back and give up.
Yep. Yeah, we're sending everyone that we can. Most of our businesses, especially with the EIDL, have some involvement already with Ryan Delgallo with Small Business Administration, SBDC. So he's been helping with some of that. So as we come forward and find them, we're giving them the resources so that they can try and do something positive.
Okay, well done, Mike. The next item on the agenda is the contract expiration of the current director, but that's already been handled in the other part of it. I did want to let you know from there's if you can visualize everything inside Bully Rock Parkway 155 and Grace Harbor. Okay, that was several years ago in a prior administration annexed into the city. The three property owners have now come together with a joint proposal for its development. It's roughly 160 acres, 162 or 3 must be retained in green space. So one of the parks is, I find it's kind of funny, is going to be the where the winery is now. So the winery will continue, but it'll be in the middle of a park. What's the name of the hill? Scion Hill. All of that will be preserved in perpetuity. There's a huge green space that abuts 155. But I guess the interesting, from a purely economic development point of view, is there's a sizable chunk of it at the corner of 155 and Bully Rock Parkway that is anticipated to be an industrial park. So that's pretty interesting. This is all preliminary. It's not, there's been no filings other than the formal filing of the consent by the three owners, and it's going forward with the city. But I thought there's another 25 or 30 acres, I'm working from memory, that they're not sure how it will be allocated depending on housing or business. The principal points of entry will be one road that already exists through Scenic Harbor. Scenic Harbor Drive was built as an access point. And Shane has done a terrific job of fielding a lot of citizen concerns there. And then directly across from Chapel Road, and then some directly across from the entrance to the paddocks, there will be entry roads. There's at the center, there is an anticipated senior center, senior living center, but basically it's housing and commercial development. So kind of another big project. You're talking about a project that's in size and scope, it's huge. So that's kind of interesting. So anyway, it'll buoy the downtown, it'll be important that it, just as Bully Rock has focused on downtown, that development continue to focus on downtown as the center of the community. So that'll be a real principal concern going forward. Anyway, that's about, I mean, it was just an advisory to the planning commission that it's going forward with council and planning. So I share that with you. It's pretty interesting. It's an interesting project. So. Okay, anything else? Calendar, okay. July 15th is our next meeting. I don't know if it will be.
We won't know until the governor makes his next proclamation, whether it's in person or again with smiling, happy faces.
Yeah, but
On the
this
screen.
has worked well. I think the only person missing today is Lisa Scott Coleman, right?
And Lisa Robinson.
And Lisa Robinson. Only two missing. So it's worked. You know, the attendance is typical. And Mike, by the way, we can see you in the reflection of your microphone.
I like better that way.
That's awesome.
All right.
Excuse me,
Anything else?
Terry, this is Terry. I just wanted to mention something.
Terry, you're always at the end of the meeting with some.
Well, it's just real quick. Kudos to Erica and Julie for reaching out to the businesses because, as you all know, the businesses, they're all in different stages. Some are closing, some are just hanging on, like Erica said. Some are continuing to grow and add new employees. And the assistance that's out there, there's plenty of it, and it keeps changing and being updated and things like that. And so, you know, it's just great that you're out there talking to them. I do that with my job. And a lot of times they're just grateful that we're there to help them and to answer their questions because there's still a lot of unknowns.
I do, to tag on to that, Terry, we have not had the employment crisis that has hit the rest of the nation. And that's, I guess, a tribute to the strength, on one hand, the strength of our economic infrastructure and the people, the owners, but also the strength of the assistance they've gotten. But we're not devastated by this thing, and it looks like we're going to come out of it relatively well. So, yeah, a good point. Terry, don't you have your annual event? Oh,
Tuesday.
It was
this past
yesterday.
week. You had it. Okay.
It's okay.
All right.
It was Arnaban Basu was the speaker.
You're right. I
Mhm.
read well, anyway.
Okay.
Sorry I
But
missed
still
it.
with his presentation, I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns. So a lot of what he could talk about is what has happened in Hartford and Cecil County historically, what we all realize right now, but it's hard to say what the future is going to be, even the short term. So it's very hard to say. It's
Yeah.
still to be determined. It's a roller coaster right now. But the
Okay,
partnerships have been
fine.
very good. So we're all working together.
Well, it's 5:07. Do I hear a motion for adjourn?
And Chris?
Oh, okay, second. Raise your hand.
Julie?
Okay, Julie, all those in favor, all those
Aye.
all
Aye.
opposed? Maria, are you opposed? No.
Raise your hand.
All right. Thank you, folks.
Thank
for
you,
putting up
everyone.
with
Everybody.
extraordinary.
And thank
Happy
you. Jeff.
Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Beetle. Miss you.
See you later. Bye.
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 I can't get hugs from Beetle anymore. It's terrible.
Oh.
He's good.